Second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. So, are there any corrections or questions to staff on the minutes?
Have you started?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Third item, chairperson's report. I just want to commend the recreation staff and also any maintenance staff that were involved with getting the Halloween extravaganza event party up and running, because it was really fabulous. And it was, just like in the report, it was probably one of the first times that the number of Halloween events that after the costume parade or the costume contest, there are plenty of parents and kids and families still there, so I don't know if you had trouble moving people along when the noon hour struck or not, but it was a really fun event.
Thank you. Yeah, when they came to take down the pop-up or the blow up, the obstacle course, that kind of signaled to everyone, oh, this is kind of ending. But we did have a family walk up 5 minutes till the end of it, so we had staff take them out a bucket of candy and let them get some candy before they left and do a little drawing and chalk. But yeah, it was people kind of moved out a little bit slower than usual, but that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, very good problem, and that obstacle course was really cool. So that was, can we climb it, Larry? I know what you're gonna tell me.
You want me to bring it over to your house?
Yeah, stop.
Sweet. No, I'll stay out there in front of the Freedom Park for everyone.
But you don't have to go to work and be shy now, I mean, since you're retired.
No, I would have done it when I was working. Even for the county's law enforcement officer, I still would have done it, so. If I had a billboard on 50, I could do that. So, all right, do any of my fellow board members have any comments? All right, thank you. Reports from standing committees, I don't think anyone met this month. All right. Okay, the administrators report, Larry.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to just point out is that you see a new face in the audience. And this is Rachel Robertson. Rachel, this is her first week.
Yep, third day.
Third day on the job. And Rachel comes to us from the city of Roseville, Parks and Recreation Department. And we might be stealing another one of their people for our maintenance group.
Hey,
But,
I'm good with that.
you know, and I know Sarah can attest to this, that we really had a good quality and a good number of people that applied, and Rachel rose to the top, but truthfully, man, I would have been happy with the top 4 there. We really thought we had a good group, but it was kind of a unanimous decision by the interview, which was an outside interview panel except for Sarah, that Rachel was clearly the number 1 candidate, and we feel very lucky to have her aboard.
Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to
I'm
our
excited to
family.
be here. All right.
So can I ask who's on the interview panel?
Let's see, it was Colin, what is Colin's last name? Why did I forget that?
No.
Colin Miller from Arden Park,
Okay.
and then Steve Fraser from Arcade Creek. Both of them have been administrators and former directors before they became special district administrators. And Sarah was there as well, and I just met with the finalists. So we're happy to have Rachel aboard. The other thing I'd like to do is, I'm sorry, I should have said, did you have something you'd like to share with the board, and a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I guess I come from the city of Roseville. I have over 9 years of recreation experience, starting in aquatics, and then I moved on to facilities, programming, events. So I have a little bit of everything. I just graduated from college from Cal State East Bay, so yay pioneers. I think that's the best.
It used to be Hayward when I was.
Yeah, and I was online, so I'm not that athletic tout to the mascot, so I'm pretty sure it's the Pioneers, but I could be wrong. But I'm excited to be here and to get to know you guys and hopefully come by and stop at these meetings more often than not, so.
So what'd you do in aquatics?
Um,
You knew I had that. Both my kids were lifeguards, so.
Yeah, lifeguard, swim instructor, a little bit of management. I've moved a lot since I graduated from high school, so I worked for 3 different aquatic agencies.
Okay.
So a little bit of everything. And then at the City of Rosewell, I wasn't in the aquatics team, but I try to help out just to stay relevant because
Okay.
it's not a skill you can have. And then I was also a competitive swimmer, so.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What was your best stroke?
Breaststroke.
Oh, my kids hated breast.
Yeah.
My kids go back and fly, so.
Oh, flying, no.
Yeah, I know. Most people say, oh, no,
Yeah.
not butterfly.
Just so you know, Rachel, both Pedro and Alan have been involved with our swim team, not recently, right, but a few years
Yeah,
ago.
no, just
A few years
a little
back.
while ago. A little while ago.
And had Rachel actually been a graduate of San Jose State, we would have skipped the second interview.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but that's- Alan and I graduated from San Jose State, I think the same year.
Oh,
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. When they used to actually have numbers, they kept track of. Well, that's me too. Yeah, maybe pass it on that way. I'm gonna pass some photos down to you that are the last few days.
Are these of Terry?
No.
I won't afraid of
I'll let Scott explain to you what they are, so you have a good idea.
It can't be good if it's colored.
Okay,
Yeah,
Scott.
well,
Oh, this is like.
three things that are, that weren't included in my report. I did, because we did our reports early with Larry going out of town on vacation, I didn't have a chance to do the full month of Fulton El Camino Police stats. So you got those pertinent parks that were visited for the month of October, so that's included. I put it down in your spot. The pictures, the first one that shows 2 poles, very lonely. In the middle used to be a swing, a kind of quasi-tire swing. You were vandalized and the swing was taken off the poles and removed.
Somebody liked it better than we did.
It just goes to show we're not immune even at our brand new park and an isolated location like Cherry Blossom. We've already reached out to Berliner and our sales rep for a replacement cost, and she's offered up some hardware that is not inexpensive, and she has some extra pieces that'll.
So is this one pole, looks like it's.
It's the, if you remember the swing itself, they do
Oh,
tear
okay.
out.
All right.
It's got that mesh tire.
Okay, that's fine, I'm old, I forget that, so.
And then the second group of pictures is unfortunately a tad more serious. Last Tuesday evening, just before midnight at Brock Park, we were struck by an arsonist, and the backstop on the regulation size diamond was set afire. Fortunately, if you know Brock and you know that end of the facility, there's houses that are very close. Obviously, someone called the fire in very, very quickly. In fact, I have the report from Sac Metro. They got the call at 12:03. The fire responders were there at 12:07, and the whole thing was out by 12:17. So if you look at the one picture, if you go up the backstop, you can see that the smoke damage went all the way to the top of the backstop. And in fact, I didn't get a good enough picture, but the trees that hang over the backstop were also singed. So we, thanks to a very, very prompt call from one of the neighbors, we avoided a pretty serious situation. We forwarded the pictures that you can see there's some graffiti there. Those were left on the sidewalk close to the fire. Those have been forwarded to our officers over at Fulton El Camino, just to see if they can identify. We're not going to catch the perpetrators, but and then the last part of that whole report is we're waiting on an estimate from a contractor we work with to see how much it would cost. The whole backstop. The chain link we think is still viable, but all those 2x12s will need to be replaced. And then we're just going to, there's score of inches behind the backstop, so we're just going to take those out. They're just an attractive nuisance for homeless, so those will be coming out.
So on the graffiti, you said you shared it with Fulton El Camino.
Yeah.
Do they share that with the sheriff? Because the sheriff has a.
They do.
Okay.
They work so closely with SAC Sheriff.
That's what I figured. Okay.
When we're just, you know, when we send it to one, I think we're also sending
Okay,
it
got
to.
If I could make a comment too about the fire, we don't have an estimate yet of what the repair costs are. We don't routinely make claims to Capri. One is we have certain deductibles that we have to, and I can't remember what the fire deductible is, I'd have to look it up, but it may, the cost to replace this may not be, you know, may not be worth it. We don't want to make a claim just a little bit more than our deductible because then our rates go up. But if it's significant, and after I look at, tomorrow I look at the deductible for insurance, we'll see where we go from there. But I have the feeling this is probably under $5,000, and I think that's what our deductible is.
Maybe to end on a more positive note, I just wanted to tout two things that were in my written report. We finally joined the 21st century. We've now got internet-based thermostats in this building and over in the community center. So we can literally sit on our smartphone at home or at our desk and program those thermostats. If there's no programs going on, we can turn them off. It's going to save us a lot of resources. And then at Cape Art, on the report on the last page, the motors to raise and lower those side baskets. I can't describe how cumbersome the process was for a staff person to try to do that.
Explain to them, they might let.
The box is at about 12 feet,
Right.
so they have to stand on a ladder. They take a power drill with a big lug bolt on it, or lug nut on
I
it,
know those.
and slowly raise the baskets up. So now we have 4 brand new motors, 2 remote controls. The staff person can stand right below it, and in
Wow.
5-7 seconds.
Yeah, you can do them all 4 of them in under 5 minutes. So.
Wow.
So we're super excited about that project. We also got the scoreboard working again, so
Good.
at Cape Art. So yeah, we're doing it in the 21st century. Like I said. That's all I have for, unless there are any other questions.
I just want to comment on the graffiti. Honestly, I think those probably some 10-year-olds got
It could
an
be.
extra can because the one had the
It's in-
which is like the Nintendo symbol, and next to that, it looked like they were drawing a PlayStation controller.
And it's in chalk, so I don't know.
Oh, that was chalk?
They're gonna get
Yeah.
it, so. But hey, you never
So
know.
I don't know if the sheriffs will find much, but it's, you know,
Are they gonna be knocking? They might get a good laugh.
Nintendo on our, then gang signs. So
So they won't be knocking on your door, will they?
I hope not.
We did find some drug paraphernalia as well, but who knows how long it was there.
Yeah.
So it was just a really unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Quick question, the Ballards, I see 12 of them got damages.
They're susceptible to cars running into them. They're susceptible to someone just getting a wild hair and just trying to knock them down by kicking them or with a sledgehammer or something. We tend to try to repair them as quickly as they happen. If we get overwhelmed like that, sometimes we'll wait for it as one project and then assign two men to it to go out. Because it's a really, really involved process to get all that old concrete out, set the new one in place, set new concrete. So it's very,
I
very.
just when I saw 12, I said, wow.
Well, there's controversy with bollards, and that is, that originally they were put in so that cars don't decide to go in and spin donuts in parks and those kinds of things. But as you can see, when they get damaged, especially we have mostly the old wooden type, which are, set in concrete, as Scott said, and then you gotta dig all that. If it's snapped off at the concrete level, you gotta dig all that out. It's really labor intensive. And truthfully, they can probably enter most of our parks from just about anywhere they want and avoid the bollards. So as we go through starting to replace, and I think this will begin probably sometime after the first of the year, we start to replace concrete sidewalks and pathways in our parks. I think when we run across bollards, we're going to have to really evaluate whether it's better, since we're already taking the concrete out, is it better just not to put those back in? You can buy some that actually are called knockdown. They hit it, they go over. But if somebody tries to drive over them, they might screw their car up in doing so. But, a lot of new parks just aren't doing that anymore. I think at Cherry Blossom, we have a couple at the...
Just in the driveways.
Yeah, the entryways
Yeah.
for maintenance vehicles. But let's be honest, anywhere in the park, they can just drive over and do what they need to do. But that's something we're going to have to really take a look at, because when they do get knocked over, especially those wooden ones, it's really labor intensive to
Those wood ones have been around for a while.
Yes, yes, they have.
Yeah, I mean, since my boy was little.
Well, that's what they used all the time before, was wood, and then they gravitated towards, it looks like cherry blossom, we have that wood. And I think those are knocked down too.
There.
All right, anyone else have any questions for Scott? Sarah, is anything you'd like to highlight?
Nothing new, besides definitely welcoming Rachel. It's nice to have her here. We've thrown a lot at her this week, and she's done a really good job juggling and kind of going with the flow, so it's much appreciated, happy to have her here. I did want to highlight the recognition that the partnership between the maintenance of parks and facilities and really helping to fill the gaps when we had the vacancy was huge. Everyone from Terry to Scott to Cindy to Larry all stepped in and really kind of helped keep the ball rolling. You know, it was just really great. So I just wanted to highlight the appreciation and recognition that everyone really stepped in and kind of played a role in getting things through October. So it was great.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Quick one,
Yeah.
the yard sale, I guess that was success,
Yeah.
from what I saw here, I mean,
Yeah, we
Did you
sold
get-
out all the spaces in the front lot. In the spring, we usually, it's significantly larger in the spring. We kind of expanded to the other lot that's next to the FC Joyce Playground area. But spring, no, not spring, fall, we typically don't sell out all the spaces, usually one or two. So it was great to have them all out. You know, we didn't have as much foot traffic, but it was still really great. Everyone came out and heard a lot of really good, positive things, so.
All right, awesome. Terry? No? Okay. Later, correspondence, we don't have any. Comments and reports from citizens and organizations. We're missing our public this month. Under 9, under unfinished business, we don't have any this month. Item 10, new business, A, resolution 583, the parking tax fee expenditure amendments. So Larry, is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I just want, I don't know if any of the board members found this report a little wordy.
There was a lot to digest. put it that way.
What's that?
There was a lot to digest there.
Yeah, and it was a difficult one to write, to be honest with you, because I kind of feel guilty that I kind of self-reported the district where we might have, when I didn't mind, I made a mistake 4 years ago when we were looking at funding some of our playgrounds, and we funded Larchmont out of impact fees, and this all came about, as I mentioned in the report, that when we submitted the, I think it was 2018-19, once a year, we submit a report, an annual impact fee report to the county. It's pretty detailed, and the numbers that we have to match up with the numbers that the county has. Otherwise, as Terry knows, we go back and forth over pennies sometimes. So anyway, we got the report kicked back to us, and there was questions about some of the charges. And when I looked at them, I go, oh boy, yeah, I can see where the problem was. And also too, we realized that some of there were some of the fees we're going to get paid back, but we have to wait for, like, the Lakes of Antelope to start generating some revenue to pay ourselves back. We didn't have that problem with Cherry Blossom because it was a different type of park project. But anyway, so when I saw this, I talked to SCI because they're in a process of preparing the annual five-year report that goes to the county. So these are one-year reports that we give every year, and then they have to do a review of all the last 5 years, and then that has to get submitted to the Builders Association to see if they see anything that they see questionable. And my understanding is they haven't, and that the report is going to the board in November or December. And then when we get it back, we'll share it with you so you can see a 5-year picture of our district. But when I looked at this again, I said, you know, I think I'm going to go back since I came here in 2014. Let's go through, because I knew we didn't have too many projects in which we use impact fees. But I went through each one and then I looked at Larchmont, went back and looked at the criteria. I think it's improvements versus maintenance, new versus replacement. And, they're really, actually, when you look at it much closer, they're really defined. What I might consider is a replacement. Somebody might say, well, that's new, or vice versa. Bottom line is, I saw that Larchmont, we should have paid that out of our reserves and instead of the park impact fees. And the one that's still being worked on is Streisand, and that's the one that's a little convoluted because, as you may remember, Scott was able to secure a grant. And so half of that project was grant and half of it was district funds, and we used impact fees. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be just like Larchmont, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be. Because the county gave us 3 criteria to look at, and I think all the 3 criteria, at least 2 of them are clearly in our favor, and one does appear to be in our favor. But I'm having Blair from SCI review those, and they said they would accept whatever Blair's finding is as to the amount. And maybe we'll have that by the December meeting, if not, hopefully the January meeting. Bottom line is, the interesting thing is the county planning department looked at as they do all special district submittals, and they approved every one of them. Then they went to the board of supervisors, and they approved every one of them. And then I look at it and I go, if they already approved it, why am I doing that? Of course, the answer is quite simple. I don't, if I'm gone next week, next year, 5 years from now, I don't want a new board or a new administrator to have to come back and say, this guy screwed up or made a mistake, and now we got to clean it up. I see it, we got to take care of it. In the bottom line, the district didn't lose any money. We just had to shift money from one account to another account. And so in some ways, maybe it's a good idea because I actually prefer to have more money right now in the impact fee, park impact fee account. Because as we start to move forward with hopefully once we get the CEQA study done on Sierra Creek Park, we can start to begin to use funds to start to design the park. And then maybe wait to see the funds that come in from the development, and then wait to see if we are successful in securing a grant. And in that case, we're actually allowed to pay ourselves back because we fronted the money. But it gives us a chance to have everything ready to go once we have the funds coming in. So it's nice having close to right around $1 million again in our park impact fee account, because that's where we want to take it out, because that's where it should come from. And I've talked to Blair, and Blair's agreed to, anytime we want to consider using park impact fees for future projects, they will at no cost review that and let us know if it's eligible. So I know it's a little convoluted. It took a long time to write this report because I'm trying to tell a story that makes sense, but at the same time, hopefully is understandable, because it was kind of something I was trying to understand as I was writing it myself. But anyway, that's the nuts and bolts of it, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there any consequence for the district, like?
No.
Did we do anything illegal?
No. In fact, I got an email. I thought about printing it and giving it to you. Where actually Mike Middleton, who is the planner for the county who focuses on special districts, actually thanked me for catching their mistake.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that are supposed to catch the mistake, because it went to the board, their bosses, the board of supervisors, who then approved it. So he thanked me for doing it. He goes, it may have never been caught had you not kind of self-reported. I said, yeah, I know. I know.
All right. Well, thank you.
So no penalties at all.
So, silly question, how come under new business A and B, the resolution numbers are backwards?
Uh-oh.
582, 583.
You told me to put them backwards.
Okay.
I could have, I don't remember, that was probably 2 weeks ago.
That was good, Terry. He told me.
I knew when I was writing this and doing the
There
agenda.
was no hesitation there. It
Oh,
was
I
straight
know.
paper.
I was throwing him under the bus.
Terry's been learning to wrap me out real quick.
And Terry knew I was gonna probably ask that question.
Yes, I did.
Terry and I will have a conversation later.
Yeah,
I won't be here tomorrow, so that's okay.
So anyway, the resolution basically starts the process of transferring monies from the general fund reserve into the park impact fee account. And at the end of the day, the numbers are still, if you add them both together, they're gonna be exactly the same. It's just, we're taking from one and putting back in the other. And again, if we had we done it the correct way and used the right account, it would actually look like this.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to pass resolution 583, the North Highlands Recreation and Park District authorizing the transfer of funds from general fund reserves to the park impact fee account.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, item 10B, resolution 582, the Prop 68 per capita grant. So, Larry, do you have anything?
Yeah, I've learned that it's better to rely on your fellow administrators sometimes to get better information than you get from the state. And Sarah was privy to this. When we were actually in between candidates, or early in the morning, we were talking about it at lunchtime. We were sitting before the other two administrators, and we started talking about Prop 68 per capita. Now, this is guaranteed money to the district. It's based on population size. We have to fall into the lower category, so we get a minimum of 200,000. I think it's under 55,000 that you fall into that. If you go up the next category, it's like 227,000. But originally, and I can certainly provide it to the board if you would like to see it, the original Prop 68 document that was now over a year old indicated that, as they had done in the past with previous state grants, they issued a check to each agency for whatever the per capita amount is. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I found out real quick that they changed their mind and decided to do it different. They decided, instead of issuing out checks, what they would do is you have to provide, which we will do probably in December or January, we will provide them with a list of proposed projects. And then we upfront the money for the project, and we have to have a 20% match. So if I have a $200,000 project, and I'm not limited to that 200,000, if we have a bigger project, that just means we're kicking in additional money. But let's say that we got $200,000 and it's 20% a match, that means we'd have to add $40,000 out of our pocket. It's still not a bad deal getting $200,000 and only having to contribute 40, but that wasn't the original plan. So in our conversations with the other two administrators, we found out that we were required by January to have the board pass a resolution agreeing to that this is the way we would do it. We didn't have to include the projects at this time. The projects can come afterwards. But just like the other Prop 68 grants, they are running 6 to 9 months behind. My understanding is that those grants that were round one that were approved back in August, they have not even funded those yet. But anyhow, so this is a resolution that each agency has to pass. We would then report to state parks. This lets them know, along with a previous letter that I had sent them saying yes, that we agreed that we want to participate in the program. That locks us in. And then when we provide our projects, we're not really 100% locked into those projects. If we want to change something later on, we can do that. They just want to see that we have discussed and have projects ready to go once we get funded. And I think you have 12 months after you're funded to begin your projects. I don't even think you have to complete a budget. So anyway, that's what this resolution is.
So if we pass this and we decide in January, we don't want to move forward with any projects, do we have that option?
Sure. I wouldn't want to give away $200,000.
No, I just wanted to make sure we have that option.
Well, we have projects, and I just to give you a quick idea, some of the things that we're looking at is and these are things that we badly need. We need a new gym floor at King Park. And, putting a new restroom at K Park, which will, as you know, we have an inside restroom inside the gym, and then we have the one that the daycare uses as well. And you know, it's got issues. It's outside and you have to walk to it. So those are types of projects that we could look at doing, and I think those things would probably resonate with the board that, you know, we certainly need to do, whether we pay for them later or we use the grant funds to do so.
Yeah, at my age, I like bathrooms everywhere, so, you know.
All right, so,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 592, application for Proposition 68 per capita grant funds.
I was gonna say,
What
yeah,
did I say?
5-9.
582.
You're just jumping.
I'll second that motion.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 11, payment of bills. So in front of us, we have the November 2019 billing report for both the district and for Cherry Blossom.
I
So,
thought Alan was gonna donate his time.
Oh, I donated my time, I didn't donate out of pocket. Let's clarify that.
so is there any questions of staff regarding either billing report?
This is Terry's, I don't touch it, I agree.
Just type them in.
I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Well, we don't do both billings on that one, because remember, there's 2 billing statements now.
But, yeah, I mentioned both, so.
Okay, I just gotta
yeah,
clarify. Okay.
Yeah, so it is for both.
I assume so, I just want to clarify, because Terry's got to put it in the minutes and, you know, see, I know,
We got it.
got it.
All right. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be on December 12, 2019 at 6:30 PM in the North Highlands Recreation Center, 6040 Watt Avenue, North Highlands. This meeting is adjourned.